We did. We moved into the heart of the city where many of the kids and families were living. That was about a 10-year learning curve for me. During that 10 years, I had been commuting back and forth into the city. There was an old Presbyterian church in our community that had struggled for a lot of years, finally gave up the ghost. And Presbytery asked if I would have any interest in setting up our ministry there. And so we did. And started doing all the things that urban churches would do, you know. You got to start a clothes closet. You got to do a food pantry. Probably the most exciting thing that we did was our Adopt a Family program at Christmas time. That's when we identified the kids that we're not going to get much for Christmas, if anything. And we gave those names to our suburban friends who would go shopping. And then on Christmas Eve, they'd deliver those toys to the homes of the kids. And it brought a lot of excitement and joy. But the first year that we were in the neighborhood as neighbors was really the first time I had extra time that allowed me to be in the homes of some of the recipient families when the gift-bearing families arrived. And I saw something that I just never noticed before. Kids, of course, they were all excited. Santa Claus coming. The moms were gracious. They were a little reserved, maybe a little embarrassed. But if there was a dad in the household, he just disappeared. He was gone out the back door. And I realized what was happening was that these parents in front of their children were being exposed for their inability to provide. And the moms would endure that indignity for the sake of the kids. But it was just more than a father's pride could handle. It was as though his impotence was being exposed in front of his wife and kids in his own living room. It was killing him. I just never saw it. I was reading everything I could get my hands on in those days on urban ministry, and there really wasn't a whole lot written. But I came across one author, a French theologian, philosopher by the name of Jacques Ellul. And he was writing about cities and poverty, and he was reading one of his books. And this quote, Ellul said, almsgiving, that's the old word for charity. Almsgiving is Mammon's perversion of giving. It affirms the superiority of the giver. It binds the recipient and demands gratitude. It humiliates him and reduces him to a lower state than he had before. Can you see why that hit me right in the heart? That was not why we were there, to lower anybody, certainly not to humiliate anybody. We were there to affirm, to encourage. The food pantry was always hard to get that equitable. Somebody gives you a couple dozen canned hams, prize possession, right? But you got 50 people standing in line. So how are you going to distribute that well? And somebody gets canned corn, and somebody gets pickled beets. Well, like Ellul says, it demands gratitude. You expect folks to smile and say thank you. But just underneath the surface, there's a lot of dissatisfaction. And I started looking at the body language of folks that we were serving, and it was anything but affirming. It was, you could see shoulders slumped a little bit, eyes a bit downcast. These were the objects of pity, not the brothers and sisters that we wanted to be in fellowship with, I started to see that the kind of giving we were doing, one-way giving, was diminishing people, was somehow taking from them a sense of humanity, a sense of dignity. It was disempowering rather than empowering. I noticed a downward spiral in the way we were doing our giving. We're going to click this thing again now. There, I think we got it. Watch my finger. Get out of that phone. I found out that when you give somebody something one time, it elicits appreciation. Thank you very much. A surprise, delight. This is good. The second time, click. The second time, it creates a bit of expectation or anticipation. Oh, I wonder if he is going to continue doing this. By the third time, we've created an expectation. Now they know that I do it. Now you got to make sure that you're in line to get what he's giving. There's an expectation that we've set in place now. By the fourth time, is that clicker working? No. It's become an entitlement. I would rather have a ham this Thanksgiving than a turkey, thank you. I have a right. I have a voice in this process. I'm entitled to this. Something's changed. By the fifth time, it's pure dependency. You can't stop now. We're counting on this. We're depending on this. It's a downward spiral toward toxic charity.